So you're not born an alcoholic, you become one. Now, that is quite a controversial statement to make because many people believe that it's hereditary, and they believe that and it appears to be because when you look at people's family trees, there's often a lot of addiction in the whole family tree, which gives you the idea that, you know, I didn't have a chance from the start. You know, my grandfather had it, my uncle had it. You know, there's addiction everywhere through the family tree. They clearly, just like blue eyes or blonde hair, it's a genetic thing. No, when we look at the data, you have a genetic predisposition to becoming an alcoholic if you have core traits, but that doesn't determine you are absolutely an alcoholic. So there's a number of things that you're born with that make you very susceptible to it. Then there's a number of other things that either happen or you add to it that make you into a full alcoholic, meaning looking at the DSM-5, the neurology has changed and you have a disorder that you need to get well from, you know? In essence, it's not our fault that we're an alcoholic, but it's our responsibility to get better. So looking at those factors and the fact that there is no gene. So the things that first give you the highest likelihood of becoming an alcoholic is, we liken it to like a gun and a bullet. So you have the gun is being highly sensitive, and in the bullet you put complex childhood trauma. So either events, physical, emotional, sexual, or the absence of core emotional needs being met in those formative years. You take those two, boom, you're going to have some type of pathological self-soothing of some type, whether it's a healthier type addiction to the gym or whether it's really intravenous heroin use. Those two things will put you on the spectrum, on the DSM-5 spectrum. Now, beyond that, if it's really severe complex childhood trauma, then it's going to be really tough. The likelihood that you're going to have some type of alcohol behavior or drug behavior is very, very high, and it's beyond your control. So if we look at the data, like Dr. Gabomate's data from people who have, very severe scores on the Adverse Childhood Experiences test, for those people, the likelihood of them becoming intravenous drug users is very, very high. The correlation between significant complex trauma and severe addiction is very, very strong. But if you don't fall into that category, if it's maybe your parents made mistakes and they missed core things, but there isn't really significant complex childhood trauma, then there's the other things that add to it. The thing that makes it look like it's a genetic disorder is the fact that it is everywhere in the family tree. Now, the reason it's everywhere in the family tree is because of that complex trauma piece. And the complex trauma piece being that as a child, when our brain in those 0 to 9 and 9 to 19, especially 0 to 9 years, when the child's brain synapses are being pruned, they need to feel safe. If we look at Pia Melody's developmental model of the core childhood needs, we need to feel vulnerable, invulnerable, independent, interdependent, a real sense of self-worth, innate self-worth, and a sense of safety in the world. If you grow up in an alcoholic household, you're very unlikely to feel safe in the world, because it's the lack of consistency that makes it so unsafe. When I come home, is mum going to be angry or sad or mad or really happy? It's like if we had like a parent who is just a bit depressed all the time, that's nowhere near as upsetting for the childhood's developmental path as the inconsistency, that lack of safety in the environment, moving around all the time. So the unhealthy parents that are constantly running and setting their kids up at school after school after school, that's very, very difficult when somebody doesn't know where they belong. So mixed race and really aren't taught, the heritage of both sides of their family. So this sense of, I don't know where I really fit in. These are the things, and you see a lot of addiction and alcoholism in mixed race families because of these factors. It's not because of the color of your skin or your particular heritage, although some heritages do have less tolerance to the molecules of alcohol. That is a fact. But if we look globally at the factors, the thing that makes alcoholism look like it's a family disease is that there is the complex trauma that comes down epigenetically through the family tree. That's my case. So there was no mental health issues or no alcoholism in my family, but there was a lot of complex childhood trauma that had never been dealt with and all epigenetically hit me. And I was like the squeaky wheel in the system. But for a lot of people, it's their parents and the environment that they grew up in that caused the alcoholism. And the environment that their parents grew up in that was so unstable, that meant that they weren't then capable of meeting their own child's emotional needs. That's why it looks like alcoholism is a genetic thing and something that you're born with, but it's not.